of this committee are Alvarez Jr.,
Present.
Arbison,
Present.
De La Rosa,
Present.
Go, Lacson, Pimentel III, Cagas, Chipeco Jr.,
Present.
Noel, Pangilinan, Representative Noel is present, sir. Pangilinan, Po,
Present.
Ramirez Sato,
Present.
Recto, Revilla Jr.,
Present.
Villar, Subiri, Zamora,
Present.
Almario, Villanueva,
Present.
Senator Go present, Pancho, Drilon, Advincula,
Present.
Heron.
Present.
With 2 members physically present, the new chair, and 15 virtually present, the existence of a quorum is hereby declared. Majority Leader. Kong Mayo.
Yeah. Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chair, I move that we dispense with the reading of the minutes of the previous meeting held on September 1, 2021, and consider the same as approved.
Is there an objection? Chair hears none. The reading of the minutes of the previous meeting held on September 1st, 2021 is dispensed with, and the same is considered approved. Magandang umaga po sa kanilang lahat, esteemed members of the Committee on National Defense, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Today, your committee will deliberate on the 34 ad interim appointments and 6 nominations of general and senior officers of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. Kindly stand up as your name is called. Rolando P. Gomez, the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Gilbert R. Ombos, the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. James V. Fernando, the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. John Oliver F. Gabon, the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Danilo G. Ambe, the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Isagani O. Criste, the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Ronnie T. Ebarita, the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Rodel V. Pangilinan, the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Joseph B. Madarang Jr., the rank of Colonel, Philippine Air Force. Jocelyn P. Antig, the rank of Colonel, Philippine Air Force. Normie V. Umabtang, the rank of Colonel, Philippine Air Force. Joel A. Arcilia, the rank of Colonel, Dental Service. Narciso B. Nabulneg Jr., the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Charles D. Castillo, the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Marlo E. Patria, the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Arnulfo B. Sereno, the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Regimor G. Reyes, the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. John G. N. Tison, the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Mario G. Igmen, the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Romeo C. Jimenea, the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. William P. Uy, the rank of Colonel, Medical Corps. Sources: A. Trinidad, the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Lebrito L. Olmoguez, the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Patricio P. Alijaga, the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Dante Robert B. Gasparil, the rank of Colonel, Philippine Navy Marines. Esperanza R. Casiao, the rank of Colonel, Philippine Navy Marines. Jose Noel T. Romero, the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. John G. C. Hugilon, the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Moyusop R. Hassan, the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Jimmy B. Loquiao, the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Oscar P. Partuza, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Roel D. Kigao, the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Eddie Z. Radaza, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Remigio A. Dulatre, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army. Rolando E. Nerona, to the rank of Major General. Jeffrey C. Echanova, to the rank of Major General. Edgar M. Cardinoza, to the rank of Brigadier General. Bartolome Vicente O. Bacaro, to the rank of Lieutenant General. Leonardo I. Peña, to the rank of Brigadier General. Bienvenido J. Casaclan, to the rank of Brigadier General. Secretary, kindly report on the jurisdictional requirements and other pertinent information relative to their ad interim appointments and nominations in compliance with the new rules of the Commission and the new rules of the standing committees.
Thank you, Chairman, Your Honors. The 34 ad interim appointments and 6 nominations dated June 4, August 9, and 12, 2021, under consideration today by the committee, were received by the Commission on July 19, August 10, and 16, 2021, respectively, and were forthwith referred on the same dates by the Senate President and CA Chairperson Vicente C. Soto III to the Committee on National Defense pursuant to Section 16, Chapter 5 of the new rules of the Commission. The said ad interim appointments and nominations were published on various dates in 2 newspapers of general circulation and broadcast over PTB4 pursuant to Section 2, Article 2 of the new rules of the standing committees. All the appointees and the nominees complied with the submission of the documentary requirements as provided in Section 24, Chapter 6 of the new rules of the Commission. Your CA Secretariat received letters from the Deputy Chief of Staff for Personnel, J1, Major General Adriano S. Perez Jr., requesting for the waiver of personal appearances of the following senior officers who tested positive for COVID-19, namely Colonel Danilo G. Ambe, Colonel John Oliver F. Gabun, Colonel John G. N. Tison, Colonel Patricio P. Alejaga, Colonel Esperanza B. Casiao, Colonel Ronnie T. Ebarita, Colonel Cerces A. Trinidad, and Colonel Joseph B. Madarang Jr. The named senior officers will be appearing online in today's hearing. There were sworn oppositions relative to the nomination of Major General Bartolome Vicente O. Bacaro, filed by the following. 1. Lieutenant Colonel William V. Dormitorio, retired, member of the Philippine Military Academy, PMA, Barangal Class of 1974, supplemented by his son, Mr. Dexter D. Dormitorio. Number 2, Mr. Aurelio J. Servando. And number 3, Ms. Gerarda Villa, President of the Crusade Against Violence. Major General Bacaro filed his consolidated comment to the oppositions on September 6, 2021. Copies of the oppositions and comment were furnished to all members of the committee. Your CA Secretariat also received letters via email from the oppositors requesting that they be allowed to participate online in today's hearing for the following reasons. 1. Lieutenant Colonel William V. Dormitorio, who is a senior citizen and currently residing in Cagayan de Oro City. 2. Mr. Aurelio J. Servando, due to his health concerns and is currently residing in Iloilo City. And 3. Ms. Gerarda Villa, who is a senior citizen. Mr. Dexter Dormitorio is personally present in today's hearing. That is all, Mr. Chairman, Your Honors.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Majority Leader.
I move that the letters requesting for the waiver of the personal appearances of the aforementioned senior officers be approved.
Is there any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is hereby approved.
Mr. Chair, I also move that the letters of the aforementioned oppositors requesting to participate online be approved.
Is there any objection? Chair hears none. Motion is hereby approved. Secretary, kindly administer the oath to the appointees and nominees, including those who are present online.
Kindly raise your right hand, and those online. Do you all swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this proceeding, so help you God? Mr. Chairman, they are now all under oath.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Please also administer the oath to the oppositors present here and online.
Do you all swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this proceeding, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
You will take a seat later. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. So we will now call on Major General Bartolome Vicente Obacaro the most senior among the officers now under consideration. Take a seat in front. Sir, you may now give your opening statement if you have any.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Foremost, I am grateful to the Honorable Commission for providing me with an opportunity to respond and provide clarification on the points raised in the sworn oppositions. To this day, I commiserate with the family whom Fortas Dormitory has left behind. But this grief, no matter how sore, does not license anyone to persistently prosecute another in all venues and platforms without any basis of law and in fact. For the information of the Honorable Commission, and as stated by the opposition itself, took the complaint which was filed against me for violation of the anti-hazing law, anti-torture law, and dereliction of duty had been dismissed by the Office of the City Prosecutor of Baguio in a joint resolution dated 5 November. The joint resolution was the result of a rigorous investigation and fact-finding by a three-member panel of investigating prosecutors of the Office of the City Prosecutor Baguio City. And in ruling on the complaint, the panel of prosecutors was confronted by the NBI report, evidence submitted by the parties, as well as the findings of several clarificatory hearings conducted during the preliminary investigation. Surely, our prosecutorial arm had sufficient time and opportunity to ensure that those responsible for the death of Fortas Dormitorio would be delivered to justice. In the resolution of the OCP Baguio found no probable cause to charge me with the crimes. While the following matters have been clarified at the prosecutor's level, out of abundant caution, I wish to clarify the points raised by the opposition. I was accused of having been aware of the hazing done by Fortas Dormitorio. This statement is misleading. I was surprised on 20 August 2019 that fourth class Dormitorio had a sick call. Even without receiving the medical report for that day, I already immediately ordered an investigation on the condition of fourth class Dormitorio. I also take exception on the skewed conclusion of the opposition regarding the poor decision and mishandling of facts relevant to the case of fourth class Dormitorio. Here, the oppositors impute criminal liability to the school administrator, PMA, such as myself. However, the Office of the City Prosecutor Baguio did not mention that the administrators were indeed liable for such. Thus, it would be unfair to suggest to the Commission that OCP Baguio made such findings when their pronouncement states no such imputation. And the joint resolution reads, looking back at hindsight, the untimely demise of Dormitorio was the result of several missed opportunities and series of mishandling of facts and decision-making. Nothing in the aforementioned quoted statement shows that the OCP imputed such mishandling to me. It would be too sweeping to impute such to my person. As a soldier, our lives revolve around law and order. We comply with rules and adhere to due process. I stood by these ideals at the height of the unfortunate event. I adhered to due process and implemented in good faith the Cadet Corps Armed Forces of the Philippines regulations against erring cadets, such as the perpetrators of Fortas Dormitorio. With a clear conscience, I willingly and wittingly participated in the preliminary investigation proceedings and allowed our legal processes to take their course. Despite the prejudice thrown against me, I appeared in person during the clarificatory hearing on 9 January 2020 and contributed to enlighten the panel of prosecutors in arriving at an informed resolution based only on truth and facts of the case. I have faced wrongful charges against me at the prosecutor's level. While the fact-finding and investigation have been concluded, I understand that shedding light on what transpired in the Academy in 2019 and confronting the allegations against me, even in this venue, still remain to be an honorable act expected of me. When the case of Fort Las Dormitory was referred to me, I ordered the immediate investigation. In fact, upon receiving the initial results, I myself ordered to act on the increase of the penalty for further recommendation to the superintendent, as the latter possesses the designated authority to approve the separation. Indeed, we could easily come up with infinite alternative scenarios to what had occurred. It is now easier because we are now armed with the result of the investigation, the testimonies of the witness, and all the parties that have been sufficiently heard in the proper forum. In retrospect, I also had the same faith and resilience on facts then, so I allowed the investigation to take its usual course. Unfortunately, right before the investigation ended, events turned south on the 18th of September. As to the oppositions of Mr. Servando and Ms. Villa, I completely understand their plight against hazing. In my official and personal capacities, I have denounced and abhorred any forms of hazing. Aside from it being a criminal offense, I believe that it has no added value to those subjected to it. For this reason, in my short stint as Commandant of Cadets, I conscientiously denied or denounced such barbaric act by doing the following. I recommended sanctions against erring cadets for offenses, grave or otherwise. For maltreatment cases alone, I acted on 17 cases, and the erring cadets all received punishments. This was intended to deter others from doing such barbaric act. I recommended the separation of 3 cadets from the academy and the suspension of 7 other cadets. I likewise imparted my personal principle that maltreatment will not contribute to the leadership of the cadets and that it is senseless. I publicly stated this conviction in the many times and opportunities that I have talked with the cadets, and even challenged the upper class to put an end to this barbaric act. Maltreatment has no place in the organization. These actions militate against the oppositors' insinuation of apathy and negligence. In my stint as PMA Commandant of Cadets, I place utmost primacy on due process and rule of law. In approaching decision points, the applicable law and rules such as the Cadet Corps Armed Forces of the Philippines regulations were my basis and my conscience as my guide. The oppositors also suggest that my appointment should not be confirmed as they appeal the dismissal of the criminal case filed against me. From the start, I maintain that my name has been unnecessarily dragged to the controversy only because I was Commandant of Cadets and case has already been sensationalized. At any rate, the oppositor's submission that the pendency of the appeal should prevent my appointment deserve scant consideration from the Honorable Commission. The pendency of the appeal cannot trump on the fundamental principle of presumption of innocence. Thus, the Honorable Commission is beseeched to adhere to this in the deliberation of my appointment. The oppositors also accuse me of indecisiveness, lack of urgency, and negligence, which according to them are characteristics a commander or a chief should not possess. I understand that these are accusations from a grieving family. However, it pains me that these accusations continue to taint my reputation when the investigation itself had already established the absence of any criminal liability on my part. With all due respect, I take exception to the opposition's conclusion and prejudgment on my qualifications, which zeroed on their complaint instead of my track record. The Honorable Commission is implored to decide on my qualifications based on facts and information, and not on mere perception. Modesty aside, I submit the following recent experiences that have prepared me to assume a new role in the Armed Forces of the Philippines. I started from the bottom, from being a platoon leader, a company commander, and a battalion commander. And as a brigade commander, I provided leadership to more than 1,000 active personnel, to include almost an equal number of TACBU active auxiliaries in Northern Luzon, successfully achieving our mandated mission. And as a division commander, I provided operational command and control over 3 brigades and 7 maneuver battalions in Southern Luzon. I provided administrative control and supervision over 4 battalions organic to my division deployed in Mindanao. I was also designated as commander of one of the 3 sectors in northern Iraq in my capacity as member of the United Nations Guard contingent in Iraq. I bested other AFP senior officers and other officers of the multinational contingent. The reason is that I provided good leadership. I was Assistant Chief of Staff for Operations G3 of the Philippine Army, wherein I handled all operational concerns of the entire Philippine Army as a force provider. I serve as Chief of the Operations Division of the Office of the Deputy Chief of Staff for Operations. The said division is considered as the heart of the said office, covering areas of internal security, information operations, humanitarian assistance and disaster response, territorial defense, and ceremonies. We provided sound, timely recommendations to the AAP leadership. And significant to this event-based incidents included the typhoon, Yolanda, the Zamboanga siege, the Golan Heights incidents, the Korean crisis, the territorial defense of the West Philippine Sea, among others. In serving in all of these capacities, I was always guided by my desire to fulfill my responsibility to defend our flag and to protect the Filipino people. I hope that I would be given the opportunity to do more for our country while I am able. I hope that my contribution to the Republic will be defined by what I did in my career as opposed to what others dictate I should have done. While I completely understand the sentiment of the family, I found it unfortunate that this is happening. Still, my empathy is with them, Mr. Servando, whom I learned also lost a child due to hazing. I admire Ms. Silva for their organization's noble advocacy. While indeed no amount of sympathies could assuage the grief of the bereaved family, such pain must not be used to take revenge, fault the innocent, and destroy another person's reputation. The culture of hate and revenge has no place in our society then and now. I am one with the family in accepting accountability for the death of Fortas Dormitorio. I would do anything and everything in my capacity to see that justice is served. Without undermining the value of the life of a promising cadet, I wish that such unfortunate event would not be used to further drag the controversy and be weaponized against my person when our authorities have already determined my innocence. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Major General Bacaro. May we now call on one of the oppositor to expound on their sworn opposition briefly. Dexter Dormitorio. Sir Dexter Dormitorio, sir.
To Senate President Soto, to Senator Panfilo Lacson, the Secretary of the Commission on Appointments, Attorney Henry A. Villacorta, Chairman of the Committee on National Defense, Representative Luis Ferrer IV, and to all the members of the Honorable Committee, a pleasant morning. As the family's representative, I would like to convey our sincerest gratitude to this esteemed committee for allowing us to express our strong opposition to the promotion of Major General Bartolome Vicente O. Bacaro to the rank of Lieutenant General of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. My brother, 4th Class Dormitorio, aspired to be an officer of the AFP for noble causes. He drew inspiration from the success of the military in the 2017 Marawi siege. In June 2019, he entered the Philippine Military Academy to pursue his dream. However, his life was cut short because of hazing. The horrific sight of his lifeless body filled with bruises will forever be engraved in my memory. We sympathize with Mr. Bacaro with his feeling of being unreasonably prosecuted. We are not discounting the fact that in his many years of service as a soldier, he has accolades and accomplishments that some could only dream of. But this does not change the fact that during his term as commandant of cadets, the evil culture of hazing seemed to have flourished at the PMA. Fourth class dormitorio died a slow and very painful death as a result of the incompetence of the tactics group headed by Brigadier General Bacaro in addressing his situation of being repeatedly beaten by his upperclassmen whom he considered buddies. As Mr. Bacaro mentioned in his reply, 17 cases of hazing were duly reported to his office, and the 17th incident took 4th class dormitorio's life. Hazing is a choice made by the perpetrators. But what did Mr. Bacaro, as the leader, do when he recurrently received reports of such crime happening just under his nose? Were his methods and recommendations sufficient, effective, and indeed successfully addressed the century-long culture of violence and human rights violations within the ranks of the cadets during his supervision? Of the 17 reported cases, he might already have a solution to finally put a stop to it. But why did it continue and ultimately led to the demise of 4th class dormitorio? I hope that we will not forget that my brother, along with the other cadets who suffered due to hazing, are the real victims here. In his reply, Mr. Bacaro claims that he was only apprised on August 20, 2019, and immediately initiated an investigation to find out what caused the multiple bruises on 4th class dormitorio's chest and abdomen. However, he fails to admit that on August 29, 2019, Captain Jose Carlos M. Gamos submitted his investigation report addressed to the head of the tactics group, then Brigadier General Bacaro, confirming that the cause of multiple soft tissue hematoma found in the chest of 4th class dormitorio was sustained from repeated blows to the chest by 3rd class Lumbag. On September 16, 2019, Major Rex C. Bolo submitted a report to then Brigadier General Bacaro that 4th class dormitorio was again assaulted by 3rd class Lumbag on September 6, 2019. Because of this incident, then Brigadier General Bacaro determined that 3rd class Lumbag is a recidivist and ordered Major Bolo to elevate the punishment for 3rd class Lumbag from suspension to separation from service. Moreover, as stated by Captain Apostol of the PMA Station Hospital, she submitted a report to then Brigadier General Bacaro regarding 4th class dormitorio's condition. Given the sad information in the case of 4th class dormitorio, Mr. Bacaro appeared to have disregarded provisions in the CCAFPR and Articles of War that authorized the commandant to, number one, order the arrest of cadets committing serious offenses, which hazing is considered as one, command their confinement in the PMA holding center while an investigation is ongoing or as deemed necessary. Mr. Bacaro asserts that he only followed procedures and rules, but with the severity of the concerns raised and confessions made by the cadets, why did he opt to limit his authority to mere paperwork when he could have already ordered the arrest of cadets committing these serious offenses or commanded their confinement in the PMA holding center while there was an ongoing investigation? The order of arrest to 3rd class Imperial and Lumbag only happened on the day of 4th class dormitorio's death, September 18, 2019. The fact of the matter is that Mr. Bacaro was well informed that a crime was being committed on 4th class dormitorio several times. Yet he approached it lackadaisically and without regard for the welfare of the poor cadet. Under the doctrine of command responsibility, the superior or commander shall be held responsible for the abuses, ills, and offenses committed by the members of his company, and that as soon as he receives any complaint concerning any such misdeed or abuse, he brings the offender to justice. In the context of the entire preliminary investigation, the people who held the decision to address the situation of 4th class dormitorio were, number one, the PMA Station Hospital doctors, the company tactical officers, number two, number three, the senior tactical officer, number four is the commandant of the cadets, and ultimately, number five, the superintendent. It is noteworthy to say that all of them failed in doing their duty, hence the sweeping statement of the Baguio Prosecutor's Office. Looking back at hindsight, the untimely demise of Dormitorio was the result of several missed opportunities and a series of mishandling of facts and decision making. Will we entrust Major General Bacaro with the heavy responsibility of a three-star general in the entire southern Luzon when his track record shows that he failed miserably in PMA? An assignment considerably less difficult by military standards, with a population only exceeding 1,000. Is his mere resignation from his post as Commandant of Cadets sufficient to clear his blunder as a commander? What Mr. Bacaro achieved 30 years ago does not remove the fact that a life was claimed because of his ineptitude as a leader and decision maker. And my family firmly believes that he should no longer be given bigger responsibilities because he has proven that he is ineffective in the role of a leader and a commander. Our opposition is founded on the separate and parallel investigations conducted by the Philippine National Police and the National Bureau of Investigation, accompanied by the records submitted by the PMA to respective courts. We have laid out our position objectively, and to say that our family is fueled by grief and vengeance is a wrongful accusation. Since day one of our legal battle, we have identified that hazing is our main enemy, and our objective is to rid our society of hazing and to make those with lapses and misdeeds rightfully accountable. This is not a demolition job against Mr. Bacaro, nor a promotion of the culture of hate and revenge, as he declared in his reply. In fact, in December 2020, when we heard the news that he was promoted to Major General, in contempt of our disappointment, we accepted it, kept silent, and just continued to focus on our legal battle. Hearing another news of his appointment and promotion in less than a year was an addition to the pain of losing my brother and our ongoing fight to achieve justice. We do not wish to impede promotion of someone truly deserving of it. If we wanted to just throw hate campaigns against Mr. Bacaro, we could have done it in demeaning and uncivilized ways. But again, we always choose to bring these matters to legal and proper venues. We believe that this appointment hearing, overseen by the Commission on Appointments, is the right forum in determining whether Mr. Bacaro is truly deserving of a promotion. One that we totally disagree with because he did not only fail fourth class dormitorio, but he also failed the PMA and our youth. Mr. Bacaro slept down as commandants of cadets in 2019, tarnished and demoralized the PMA's reputation as the premier military training institution in the country. Based on Mr. Bacaro's statement in his reply, and with all due respect, utang na loob pa po ba namin na mula daw simula, hinayaan niyang madrag ang pangalan niya sa kaso na ito, only because he held the second highest position in the academy at that time? Nobody wanted to unnecessarily drag his name or any PMA leader of this sensationalized story. Who wants to be involved in a hazing crime? Who wants to be put in the news with such controversy? Isn't it the duty and responsibility of Mr. Bacaro and the PMA authorities to explain to the public, especially to our family, what transpired in September of 2019 that led to the death of fourth class dormitorio? Seemingly, since day one, Mr. Bacaro does not want to be held accountable for this case. Furthermore, and for the information of the body, it was not only him that participated in the preliminary investigations. My parents and I attended almost all of the hearings set by the panel of prosecutors, even if it meant having to travel from Cagayan de Oro to Baguio almost weekly. Life goes on for Major General Bacaro as he continues to receive rewards and recognitions. But then, life also goes on for our family, even after the death of my brother. A loss that we will never get over, but only accept. Walang kapantay na sakit ang mawalan ng anak o kapatid sa isang marahas na paraan na maaari sanang naiwasan. Sa institusyon na inakalang mabuhubog sa kanya at mga leader na tulad ni Major General Bacaro na inatasang gumabay at magprotekta, ay namatay siya na walang kalaban-laban. As the saying goes, the dead cannot cry for justice. It is the duty of the living to do so for them. My brother wasn't able to fight for himself against his perpetrators. We were not given the chance to help and save him. And now, it is our lifelong mission to achieve the fair justice that he deserves. We live to promote our advocacy against hazing and to ensure that our youth will be safe from this devil. In 10 days, it would be my brother's second death anniversary. While Major General Bacaro and the other responsible people behind this incident are counting the days until their next assignment, promotion, and the likes, our family is left wondering, how many more death anniversaries would pass until we finally achieve justice? The pandemic has taught us that officials should be held accountable for what they have failed to do. While we wait for the resolution of our petition for review before the Department of Justice, of which Mr. Bacaro is a respondent and tagged as an accomplice of violating the anti-hazing law of 2019, we would like to humbly appeal to this honorable committee to fairly evaluate Major Bacaro's promotion based on merit. Our fight is not just for my brother, fourth class dormitorio, but also for those victims that never got to fight for the justice that they deserve. Mr. Chair, and to this honorable committee, again, thank you for this opportunity, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Dexter Dormitorio. Before we continue, I would like to acknowledge the presence online of Senator Cynthia Villar. Morning, ma'am. And also Senator Mig Subiri and Senator Joel Villanueva. Any other oppositor online would like to speak? We have with us Miss Gerarda Villa, ma'am, and Mr. Aurelio Servando.
Yeah.
Would you like to speak, ma'am?
Well, yes.
Go ahead po.
Okay. I am Gerarda Villa. 30 years ago, my son, Lenny Villa, died of hazing. And from then on, we established CAB, Crusade Against Violence. We strongly opposes the promotion of Mayor General Bartolome Vicente Bacaro to Lieutenant General. His promotion shows utter disregard for his serious accountability and negligence at the command of cadets of PMA when freshman dormitorio died inside the institution. In Japan, pagka nagkasala, ang leader umaalis na. Ito, hinihiling namin na i-postpone muna until such time na ano lahat ang maliwanagan lahat ang nangyari. But it seems that promotion will just go on. Kanya hindi tayo matuto, hindi natin pinaparusahan ang mga dapat parusahan. Hindi ko naman sinasabi na may kasalanan na siya. Pero command responsibility yan eh. Kanya maraming hazing, kanya maraming batang namamatay. 30 years pinaglalaban namin ang mga bata para hindi na masaktan. Hindi yan para sa akin. Namatay na yung anak ko 30 years ago. Still, yung mga pumatay, napupunta sa mga pwesto. Kailan pa tayo matututo? Mga magulang kayo, mga nandyan sa pwesto, please lang. Iayos natin ang ating rule of law. Ibigay ninyo sa deserving na mas maigi. Yun lamang po. Thank you, Dexter, for being so brave to fight for your brother. I know it will be a long, long way. Sa akin, 30 years na. Wala pa. But I'm sure kung ikaw ang papalit, baka maraming magbago. Salamat sa Dexter, salamat sa mga committee. Yun lamang po.
Maraming salamat po, Mrs. Villa. Mr. Aurelio Servando, are you present online? Okay, kung wala po, then may we hear the response? You would like to respond, Major General Bacaro?
Yes, sir, briefly, Your Honor. Let me just set the record straight. Indeed, on September or before September 20, actually on September 19, even before I received the official medical report that would initially trigger the conduct of investigation, a day before September 20, I already directed the conduct of investigation. Then there was another incident wherein the late Darwin Dormitorio went on sick call, but there was no red flag because he went on sick call due to coughs and colds. And that report did not reach me not until 09 September because that was a weekend. It did not reach me until 09 September. And there was no red flag as the said cadet, Fourth Class Darwin Dormitorio, was returned to barracks on full duty status. So there was no red flag on the second sick call. Now, it's very easy for us to say what could have been done because we are now equipped with sufficient information that has been the result of the series of investigation, the fact-finding, the testimonies of everybody, which were not present during the time that we handled the case. That's why we followed the regulations as provided for in the Cadet Corps Armed Forces of the Philippines regulation, the procedures we followed. We followed it by directing a thorough investigation of the case of Fort Tasman Dormitorio. Now, indeed, it's true that I received a investigation report coming from the then intelligence officer of Tactics Group, Major Captain Gamos, dated 29 August. This investigation report reached me only 6 of September, Your Honors. And the recommendation there was for the Tactics Group to make a recommendation. That's why I directed the Senior Tactical Officer, then Major Bolo, to comment and provide his recommendation. Your Honors, on my part, there was no malice. We initiated the necessary action based on what we have during that time. And on the aspect of command responsibility, during my discussion with some of my lawyers, rather, he said that one of the elements of command responsibility is that you know that an offense has been committed and you did nothing. Your Honors, as I have earlier mentioned a while ago, even prior to that incident, we have already initiated a number of interventions to ensure that maltreatment does not happen. And for this particular case, we have initiated the conduct of investigation. It is just unfortunate, Your Honors, that before the conclusion of the investigation, the event leading to the death of Fortas Dormitorio happened. That will be all, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Major General. Any member who wish to ask any question to our nominee regarding this matter? Senator Coco Pimentel, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to thank the oppositors for bringing this incident to our attention. Hindi pala sila naka-object nung, I think the nominee faced us last December 2020. So may I ask the oppositors what happened po? Why in December 2020, when our nominee was last confirmed by this body, you did not file any objection or opposition?
Okay, go ahead, Mr.
The
dormitory.
family, lalo na yung family po ni dormitorio.
Morning, Senator Pimentel. In December of 2020, that was the time when we were asked to prepare pre-trial briefs for the cases that were filed in different Baguio courts. So we had the RTC and the MTC. I was the only one managing those cases with the prosecutors and our private prosecutor. And to be honest, that was our priority during that time. And then, secondly, it is not an excuse, but we were not aware that he had a pending promotion to Major General. We only found out about it when it was published in the news.
So thank you for that answer, for that clarification. Your father, Dexter, is also a former military man, no?
Yes, sir.
So napakasakit nito. Of course, your brother wanted to follow the footsteps of your father.
Yes, sir. That he also served as my brother's inspiration for pursuing a career in the military.
Your father is also PMAR?
Class 74, sir.
Naku, okay. Okay, sa nominee po, no? Sa nominee, when you were promoted to Major General, sir, this was because of a change in your assignment. What position or assignment were you holding, and then you were promoted to Major General because you were transferred to what assignment?
Your Honor, I was then relieved from PMA. Then after having been relieved from PMA, I was waiting for the decision of higher headquarters. Then when the case was dismissed, I was now designated as the internal auditor of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. After the case has been dismissed by the Office of the City Prosecutor.
That's what you're currently holding now?
No, no, Your Honor. I'm currently the commander of Southern Luzon Command,
Southern
stationed in Lucena City, Your Honor.
When did this happen?
I assume as commander of Southern Luzon Command on 25 April, Your Honor.
Of April 25 of 2021. Oh, sige po. Now you're being promoted because you're going to be given a new assignment?
No, Your Honor, because of my current position right now as commander of Southern Luzon Command.
That needs the rank of Lieutenant
General, Your
General.
Honor.
Apo. Apo. Na-mention niyo po, how long were you the ano ba tawag doon? Commandant of or superintendent na tawag doon ng PMA?
I was commandant of PMA for almost 1 year, Your Honor.
So 1 year, no? So in that 1 year, you had 17 hazing cases?
17 maltreatment cases, Your Honor.
Maltreatment ang tawag niyo po doon. Okay. What's the difference, sir, between maltreatment and hazing?
Your Honor, hazing as defined has several elements, Your Honor. First is that it is a requisite for admission to admission, and I think one other element is it's a requirement for continuous stay in an organization, Your Honor. While maltreatment, as we define it in PMA, it is a illegal and illegitimate act conducted by a cadet to another cadet, Your Honor.
Okay, so all are maltreatment kasi wala namang hazing as as a condition for acceptance and continuation. Tama. All are maltreatment. When a higher class person maltreats a lower class cadet, that's maltreatment. Although it may be in the common man's mind, it is hazing. In the private schools, that would be called hazing.
In a way, yes, Your Honor. But let me just emphasize that maltreatment in the academy is not tolerated.
Yes, yes. So, dapat lang po. Tama po yan. So
Yes,
17 reported cases to you. And of course, because of this incident, all your actions as commandant of the PMA were reviewed, especially sa 17 cases na ito. 17th po siguro si Cadet Dormitorio. So what happened to the 16 other cases? Any deaths? Any serious injuries?
None, Your Honor.
Okay, when your actions in the 16 were reviewed, kumusta? Ano resulta? And who reviewed it?
Your Honor, initially the investigation is undertaken by the tactical officers. Then it goes to the senior tactical officers. Then to me, Your Honor, as the commandant of cadets. Then if it falls under class 2 offense, I would take action over it. But if the recommendation is suspension and separation from the service, which is classified as a class 1 offense, it is forwarded to the superintendent of the Philippine Military Academy, who approves my recommendation and eventually recommends it to higher headquarters, particularly GHQ, Your Honor.
Okay. So sa 17 na yon, ilan yung class 2, class 1?
All of those, I think there are 10, Your Honor, the ones that were recommended for separation and 1-year suspension.
10, all the rest, yung 7, parang ano yan, parang wala na. Parang
They were given class 2 punishments, Your Honor, that can be in the form of confinement and tours, Your Honor.
so your decisions as commandant of the PMA, sabi mo, is reviewable by that's ano sabi mo, by the
By the superintendent of PMA, Your Honor, particularly on class 1 offenses.
Who was that during during the relevant period? Sino yon?
The superintendent during that period is Lieutenant General Evangelista, Ronnie Evangelista, Your Honor, who is also included in this case, Your Honor. General Evangelista and I our case was dismissed due to lack of probable cause.
Yeah, under command responsibility yung theory against you siguro. Okay, General, nakita ko tong ano mo nabasa ko rin itong mga yung track record mo or yung record mo as a military man. Meron ka pang Iraq, no? You have been brigadier commander in Northern Luzon, division commander in Southern Luzon, commander of one of the 3 sectors in Northern Iraq, Assistant Chief of Staff for Operations G3 of Philippine Army, Chief of Operations Division, Office of the Deputy Chief of Staff for Operations, OJ3 of the AFP. Yun po yung inyong experience?
Your Honor, those are only a few of my experience as a commander, Your Honor.
So, meron kayong, let us say, field. Actually, may battlefield experience pa kayo. But how different? Anong lessons learned nyo po as, how different is being commandant of the PMA from experience in the field?
There is a lot of difference, Your Honor. But one thing that I did apply in PMA is what we call battlefield presence. As a commander of a combat unit, it is required that the commander is always in the front line. And in PMA, the cadets see me daily. The cadets see me in the night, early morning, because I consider the barracks, the school, the mess hall, and the athletic ground as my battlefield. I applied my experience as a ground commander, as a combat officer, when I was in PMA. I think my silent witness, particularly the cadets during that period, can attest of what I have done, of what measures I have instituted, interventions that I have done to ensure that they are protected.
The commandant of the PMA lives in the premises Tama po ba yun? Commandant of the PMA, did you live with the cadets, the premises of the PMA?
I stayed inside the premises of PMA, Your Honors, but I was staying in the quarters while the cadets were staying in their barracks. But I frequent the cadet barracks,
Yes,
Your
yes.
Honor.
Yes. Parehas na rin yun. Basta you are in close proximity. Parang you're expected to be in their presence. Ganun po yun. Is that it, General?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Sige. Well, anyway, kailan po ba ito nangyari? Itong the case of dormitorio, cadet dormitorio?
Your Honor, it happened in 2019, September 18.
Wala na po. Sira. Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, my signal is unstable. So September 19, 2019, as recent as Mr. Nominee?
Yes, Your Honor.
Nako, sorry.
Yes, Senator.
I'd
September
like to apologize.
19 po, 2019 po.
18, Your Honor.
September 19, 2019.
Apo.
18, Your Honor.
Buting
Ay, sorry. September 19, 2018. September
2018.
18, 2019. Sorry.
September
September
18, 2019.
2019. Yes po.
And as recent as that. And it happened on your birthday, General.
Yes, Your Honor. It was also during my birthday.
Okay, so pero yan ang problema, sir. Sabi yung hazing ni Lenny Villa, 30 years na, sabi na ni Mrs. Villa, as recent as September 2019, although we have erased the word hazing, we are using maltreatment. I mean, ganun, the spirit is the same. How come we have not been able to, if not totally eradicate it, siguro dapat yung mga cases, 1 to 3 cases na lang yan, hindi 17 cases. How can you explain this, General, as recent as September 2019?
Your Honor, we have the minds of more than 1,400 cadets. And each of these cadets are have their own minds, Your Honor. The best that we can do is continue advocating that maltreatment has no place in the organization. Initiate some interventions. Correct what is wrong. We cannot guard each and every one, 1,400 of them, Your Honor. But
Sige,
for the
sir.
information of-
Sige,
But
sige,
for the
sir, continue.
information of Your Honors, for your information, I, in my capacity as Commandant of Cadet, did everything humanly possible to make and institute interventions. I have corrected or issued some policies, memorandum that would push for the prevention of maltreatment, Your Honor. And
Sige,
this
sir,
can be
last,
attested by the cadets during that time.
my last point na lang ganito, kasi of course deterrence, the deterrent effect of punishment, I think, is the biggest factor in changing behavior. Sige, sir, in your tenure as commandant of the PMA, can you give us examples of your actions which you believe should have given a deterrent effect on future maltreatment behavior or intention to maltreat?
Your Honor, I think foremost of that is that we attend to those cases. As a matter of fact, as I mentioned earlier, there were 17 cases, and we pursued these 17 cases to serve as deterrent to other would-be perpetrators, that if they do the same action, they will be separated, they will be expulsed, they will be suspended from the academy. Second, Your Honor, is the visitation that we, members of the tactics group, have initiated. We also instituted stripping, Your Honor, stripping all of the fourth-classmen to check for any bodily or physical harm that was inflicted to them and conduct investigation once there are indicators. There are also some practices inside the academy that I have directed to be considered a class 2 offense. One thing in particular is during incorporation periods wherein parents of or cadets whose parents are from the military, they are asked to wear their uniform and if or other attire. And if this is not complied with, then there is the probability that the fourth class cadet will be meted with some punishment. We remove all of these practices, Your Honor. There are other
General, ganito na lang. Ito concern ko. 17 cases. Lahat yon may punishment. Ilan ang tanggal? Ilan ang tanggal
Sir,
sa PNP?
if my memory serves me right, sir, there are 3 that were separated
Okay,
and
tatlo.
7 were suspended for 1 year.
Suspended for 1 year. So tatlong tanggal, 7 suspended. Yun lang po, yun po yung ating mga na-punish doon sa 17 cases.
The others, Your Honor, were given punishment tours as well as confinement and demerits, Your Honor.
Okay, so for the record, kasama sa folder nila yon, parang may punishment din sila. Siyempre, yung mga
Yes, Your Honor.
yung iba ayaw nila matulad doon. Yun ayaw nila magaya doon sa ganung may kasama sa record, di ba? Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you, General. That would be all, Mr. Chairman, for my clarificatory questions.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much,
Mr. Chairman.
Senator Coco Pimentel. Yeah, Senator Subiri. You're
Yeah,
next.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. I join my kababayan from Cagayan de Oro in raising some questions on this particular issue. Mr. Chairman, you know me as very supportive of the armed forces. As a matter of fact, I have not questioned a single member of the armed forces credentials in the last 5 years that I was member of the CA, and fully supported our armed forces of the Philippines to the fullest in my capability as majority floor leader in the Senate. However, this particular issue, Mr. Chairman, is quite close to my heart because I'm the principal author of the strengthened anti-hazing law because of the death of Acho Castillo. Acho Castillo's sister works for me in the office, and when his death in the hands of his fraternity brothers in the University of Santo Tomas happened, it was under the time that the sister was working for me. So we took and I know Senator Coco was the Senate President at the time, and we really moved heaven and earth to pass a strengthened anti-hazing law together with Senator Panfilo Lacson. And we were able to do so, and fortunately, all those who under the old law, we were able to apprehend those fraternity members, and they're now in jail. I think a dozen of them are now in jail. So when we came up with this strengthened anti-hazing law, Mr. Chairman, wala po kaming na-exempt dyan, both in the PNPA and the PMA as well. The only exemption we gave, Mr. Chairman, was that during the course of the training, when it is part of the training curriculum, for example, ipa-jogging nyo sila ng 5 kilometers na morning and 5 kilometers at night, that's part of the training. If there's also psychological training for, let's say, if you're a training for escape and evasion or entrapment, that's part of the training, okay po yan. Pero yung binubugbog po, nakatakot-takot, for no apparent reason, hindi dapat yan ay tolerated ng ating establishment. So my question, Mr. Chairman, to General Bacaro. General, you're well aware of the new anti-hazing law. Under the anti-hazing law, zero tolerance yan. That is a heinous crime, therefore, ano yan, pag-apprehend, they will be apprehended without bail. until the end of of course, the deliberation under the courts of law. This particular case with Cadet Dormitorio, hindi ba sila, obviously you found out who the culprits were. Hindi ba sila kinasuhan ng PNP at that time or the DOJ for the violation of the anti-hazing law and therefore placed under detention?
Your Honors, right now, those that were included in the case are now, particularly those cadets during that time, they are now on detention, Your Honor.
So they're on detention. So
Yes, Your Honor.
so you were able to support the investigating team with the details that they had needed for this particular case.
Yes, Your Honor, in my capacity then as Commandant of Cadet, we assisted the NBI, the Philippine National Police, particularly the City Police of Baguio City in the conduct of investigation, Your Honor, prior to my resignation as Commandant of Cadets, Your Honor. We
Ilan
provided
po
assistance
sila,
to them.
General? Ilan po silang kinasuhan? Do you remember, General, kung ilan po sila
I
nakasuhan?
don't remember the exact number, Your Honors.
Yes. So, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to make that point that I sympathize with the family of the dormitorios, not only because they're from Cagayan de Oro, but because I am the author, the principal author of the new anti-hazing law. And for me, that's zero tolerance, and we should take that out of our system, whatever it may be, whether it's in the schools, whether it may be in organizations, because we have to take out that attitude of violence that we must instill on people. Dapat mawala na po yan. And ako ay naniniwala na this armed forces is a professional armed forces. And now the shift is from combat to more of assistance to communities, which I'm very happy that the armed forces has been going towards that shift. So yun lang, I just wanted to put on record, Mr. Chairman, that I sympathize with the Villa family, with the dormitory family, and to all the families that had suffered under the hands of these heinous criminals committing illegal acts of hazing. So thank you, Mr. Chairman. Maraming salamat po. I just wanted to put that on record.
Okay. Thank you very much po, Senator Sibiri. Any other member who wish to ask a question to our nominee? There being none, Majority Leader.
Mr. Chairman, there are other officers on deck and no questions were propounded by any member regarding the nominations of the other officers. So I move that the committee recommends to the plenary for the commission to confirm the 34 ad interim appointments and to give its consent to the nominations of the general and senior officers of the Armed Forces of the Philippines listed in the agenda for today's hearing, excluding that of Major General Bartolome Vicente Bacaro. I so move, Mr. Chairman.
Is there any objection? Chair is none. Motion is approved.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Majority Leader.
for lack of material time and considering the discussions on the nominations of Major General Bacaro, may I move for the deferment of the deliberations on his appointment nomination until the next hearing of this committee on September 15, 2021. I so move, Mr. Chair.
Is there any objection? Chair hears none. The motion is approved on the deliberation on the nomination of Major General Bacaro to be deferred until the next hearing of this committee, September 15, 2021.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Majority Leader.
good morning, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman,
Ay, opo.
there being no other matters to discuss, I move to adjourn this meeting.
Any objection? Okay, hearing none, meeting is adjourned.
The third plenary session of the Commission on Appointments in the third regular session of the 18th Congress is hereby called to order. Let us all pause for a minute of silent prayer. Thank you. Please remain standing for the singing of the Philippine National Anthem.
Bayang mag-ibig, telas ng silanganan, alam na puso, sa ganti mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, tulad ka ng mag-ibig, sa manlulupig, di ka pasisingil, sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong bota, may dilagang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang islap ng watang at mo'y tagumpay na nagtinilig, ang bituin ng araw niyang kailan pa may di magdidilim. Lupa ng araw na luwalhating pagsinta, buhay ay langit sa piling mo. Ang ligaya dapat may mga-api at mamatay lang dahil sa'yo.
The Secretary will please call the roll.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The honorable members of the Commission on Appointments. Advincula. Almario.
Present.
Alvarez Jr.
Present.
Arbison.
Present.
Caucus. Chepeco Jr.
Present.
De La Rosa.
Present.
Trilon. Ferrer the Fourth. Heron. Go.
Present, always.
Yes, sir. Lacson. Noel. Pancho.
Present.
Pangilinan.
Present.
Pimentel III.
Present.
Po.
Present.
Ramirez Sato.
Present.
Recto. Revilla Jr.
Present.
Villanueva.
Your Honor.
Villar.
Thank you, sir.
Zamora. Subiri.
Present.
The chairman is present.
With two members personally or physically present and 19 online, for a total of 21, the chair declares the existence of a quorum. Majority Leader.
Mr. Chairman, I move to dispense with the reading of the journal of the plenary session held on September 1, 2021, and consider the same as approved.
Any objection? Chair hears none. The journal is approved.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, proceed, Majority Leader.
may we now proceed to consider the recommendation of the Committee on National Defense on the nominations and ad interim appointments of 39 general and senior officers of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. I so move.
Any objection? Chair hears none. The consideration of the recommendation of the Committee on National Defense is in order.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the chairperson of the Committee on National Defense Representative Luis John Ferrer IV be recognized.
Representative Luis John Ferrer IV is hereby recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chairman, distinguished members of the Commission Appointments, this representation as Chairman of the Committee on National Defense presided over a public hearing this morning to deliberate on the ad interim appointments and nominations of 39 general and senior officers of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. Your committee, after deliberating on the qualifications and fitness during the public hearing, determined that they are all fit and qualified to be promoted to the ranks where they are appointed and nominated, and therefore ruled to recommend to the plenary for the commission to confirm the 34 ad interim appointments and to give its consent to 5 nominations of general and senior officers in the Armed Forces of the Philippines, namely Jeffrey Hechanova to the rank of Major General.
Any objection? Chair hears none. Motion's approved.
Rolando E. Nerona to the rank of Major General.
Any objection? Hearing none. Approved.
Bienvenido J. Casaclan to the rank of Brigadier General.
Any objection? Hearing none. Approved.
Edgar M. Cardinoza to the rank of Brigadier General.
Any objection? Hearing none. Approved.
Leonardo I. Peña to the rank of Brigadier General.
Any objection? Hearing none. Approved.
Rolando P. Gomez to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none. Approved.
Gilbert R. Ombos to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none. Approved.
Jose Noel T. Romero to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none. Approved.
James B. Fernando to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none. Approved.
Narciso B. Nabulneg Jr. to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none. Approved.
Charles D. Castillo to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none. Approved.
Cerces A. Trinidad to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none. Approved.
Marlo E. Patria to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none. Approved.
John G. C. Ugilion to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none. Approved.
John Oliver F. Gabon to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none. Approved.
Moyusop R. Hassan to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none. Approved.
Danilo G. Ambe to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none. Approved.
Sagani O. Criste to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none. Approved.
Ronnie T. Ebarita to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none. Approved.
Arnulfo B. Sereno to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none. Approved.
Jimmy B. Luquiao to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none. Approved.
Lebrito L. Olmoguez to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none. Approved.
Oscar P. Partuza to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none. Approved.
Roel D. Kigao to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none. Approved.
Eddie Z. Radaza to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none. Approved.
Remilio A. Dulatre to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none. Approved.
Regimore G. Reyes to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none. Approved.
Rodel V. Pangilinan to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none. Approved.
John G. N. Tison, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Mario J. Igben, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Romeo C. Jimenea, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Patricio P. Alihaga, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Army.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Joseph B. Madaran Jr., to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Air Force.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Jocelyn P. Antig, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Air Force.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Normie V. Omabtang, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Air Force.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Dante Robert B. Grasparil, the rank of Colonel, Philippine Navy Marines.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Esperanza R. Casiao, to the rank of Colonel, Philippine Navy Marines.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
Joel A. Arcilia, to the rank of Colonel, Dental Service.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
William P. Uy, to the rank of Colonel, Medical Corps.
Any objection? Hearing none, approved.
That's all, Mr. Chair. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you. Congratulations to our officers.
Mr. Chairman,
The Majority Leader.
yes, may I move to recognize Senator Bongo for to second the nominations?
Senator Bongo is recognized.
Mr. Chairman, I second the motion for the commission to give its consent to the nominations and confirm the ad interim appointments of 39 general and senior officers of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. Would like to thank you all for your resolute service and heroic contributions to the Filipino nation, most especially during these very trying and uncertain times. Let me make of record my full support for Brigadier General Edgar Cardinosa, na naging Deputy Commander, AFP Health Service Command, Camp Colonel Luna, at ngayon ay Commander po ng AFP Health Service Command. Major General Rolando Nerona, na nagsilbi bilang Senior Military Assistant to the Secretary of National Defense, at kasalukuyang Deputy Chief of Staff for Financial Management, OJ-10, Armed Forces of the Philippines. Major General Jeffrey H. Nova, na naging Deputy Wing Commander, at kasalukuyang Deputy Chief of Staff for Plans, J5. Brigadier General Bienvenido Casaklang, alumni po ng 1992 sa PMA, na nagsilbi bilang Deputy Wing Commander, at ngayon po ay Wing Commander po ng 20th Airlift 220th Airlift Wing sa Mactan. Brigadier General Leonardo de la Peña, na naging Chief of Unified Command ng Western Mindanao Command, at ngayon po ay Brigade Commander ng 302nd Infantry Brigade po dyan sa Tanhay City, Negros Oriental. In addition, Mr. Chair, I extend my support to Colonel Ronnie Ebarita, Colonel Danilo Ambe, Colonel James Fernando, Colonel Gilbert Ombos, na naging Assistant Chief of Staff for Operations po ng Panakan sa Davao, at ngayon ay student officer ng MNSA, of course, Colonel John Oliver Gabon, na nagsilbi bilang Deputy Commander ng Task Force Davao, at kasalukuyang student officer ng MNSA, Colonel Narciso Nabulneg Jr., Colonel Charles Castillo, Colonel Marlo Patria, Colonel Cis Trinidad, Colonel Jose Noel Romero, Colonel John G. Hugilion, as well as Colonel Oscar Partusa, na nagsilbi bilang Chief Office of the Joint Reserve Staff for Personnel, JRS-1. Ngayon ay Director po ng 6 AFP Reserve Center. Colonel John G. Tison, na naging Commanding Officer po ng 7th Explosive Ordnance Disposal Detachment. At ngayon po ay Assistant Chief of Staff for Logistics, G4. Force Colonel Mo Yusuf Hassan, kasalukuyang Deputy Commander po ng Task Force Davao. Further, I would like to express my full support for Colonel Regimo Reyes, Colonel Eddie Radasa, Colonel Remigio Dulatre, Colonel Roel Kigaw, Colonel Patricio Alejaga, Colonel Jimmy Luquiao, Colonel Esperanza Casiao, and Colonel Jocelyn Antig, our inspiring and admirable women in uniform, Colonel Dante Robert Grasparil, Colonel Lebrito Olmoges, Colonel Arnulfo Sereno, Colonel Mario Igmen, Colonel William Uy, Colonel Romeo Jimenia, Colonel Joseph Madarang Jr., Colonel Joel Arcilla, Colonel Rolando Gomez, Colonel Rodel Pangilinan, Colonel Isagane Criste, and lastly, Colonel Norme Omabtang. With that, once again, I thank and support each and every one of you for your gallantry and valiant efforts in the service of the Filipino nation. Binanggit ko po lahat dahil napakalaki po ng utang na loob ng taong bayan sa inyo ngayon. Considered po kayo ng mga frontliners at unang-una, maraming salamat po sa inyong serbisyo sa ating mga kababayan. Your remarkable sacrifices for our country only deserve the highest commendation and recognition, lalong-lalo na po ngayon sa panahon ng pandemya. Dito lang po kami, full support po kami sa inyo. Congratulations to all of you. Maraming salamat, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Senator Go. Majority Leader.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, Mr. Chair.
Senator Joel.
Senator Villanueva, go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you, Sir Majority Floor Leader. This will just be a very quick. I would just like to make a very short manifestation and spread into the records that this representation fully support our men in uniform, our officers that we have here today. And we just wanted to thank them for their invaluable service. And again, we are here to support and help them in any way we can. Congratulations and thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you.
All right. Majority Leader.
Yes, Mr. Chair. There being no other matters to discuss, I move to adjourn.
Any objection? Chair hears none. The session is hereby adjourned.